You have cleared every step associated with your PhD application, whether it is filling up the application, writing your SOPs, getting all the documents right. And now you have got a call to answer a PhD interview. And today's video will be about that. I remember when I had got the call to answer an interview, I was so nervous and my entire night went in anxiety at what I would be answering next. And I was frantically searching for resources on the internet to help me with PhD interview preparation. In today's video, I will break down every aspect of PhD interview, whether it be dressing sense, what kind of mindset you need to have, what are the etiquette you have to master, what kind of confidence and what kind of demeanor you have to carry for an interview. Also, I will be sharing one technique with you. It's called strategic answering technique. And with that, you will be able to answer any question. I will also tell you about the most common mistakes that PhD candidates do during an interview, that despite preparation, they will not get selected. And you definitely want to avoid those mistakes. If you are seeing me for the first time, then my name is Atya. I post high quality videos around research and higher education thrice a week, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I would really appreciate if you could subscribe and turn on the bell notification and get connected to our community. I have a feeling this would be a long video, so without further ado, let's get started. Let's understand the mindset which is required for you to answer the PhD interview. You have already cleared entrances, whether it is institute entrances or national level entrances. You have already tested your knowledge. So the basic purpose of PhD interview is to see if the candidate is able to withstand that pressure for 5 years. It is not really to test your knowledge. Testing your knowledge is a medium to get to the final goal. So it's not an exam, it is an assessment of your fit, your clarity and your perseverance. And questions related to that help in getting to that. वो हम बोलते हैं ना, अगर चावल चेक करना है, if you have to check the entire rice, whether it is good or no, you just take 2-3 grains and you see. So यही ये हो रहा है. Your entire caliber can never be estimated with the help of an interview. However, these questions and this interview is a gateway to understanding that. Get to know the faculties through their website or through the work they have done. Read at least one paper associated with each faculty and understand their level of work. If you have prepared a research proposal, which is not mandatory for a PhD interview, you should be ready with that tip to toe with all the questions which are required. The next thing you have to do is revise your own application material. What have you written in your CV? Each word can be questioned. What you have written in your SOP, statement of purpose. What have you written in the other application material that you have given? If you have had any publication, then you should be able to explain that in under 60 seconds. If you have a research proposal ready, then the objective, methodology, and what kind of conclusion or what kind of result are you looking for? Okay, you have not got result yet, but what is your intention behind framing this research proposal is utmostly required. What is that one thing why you are applying to this particular institute or this lab? Is there this lab has any particular collaboration or any specific funding that you are attracted to? If the subject is your focal point, then what is there in this subject that attracts you so much? The next thing is preparing your elevator pitch. Elevator pitch meaning 2 to 3 minute session about yourself. So it's like an introduction of yourself. You should be able to say this without any hiccup. Okay, so practice a 2-minute session about yourself and you can call this an elevator pitch and rehearse it in front of a mirror before you actually face the panel. Your academic or research achievements, all kinds of projects that you have done, whether it is for masters or whether it is for bachelors, you should be knowing each one of the word in that. What did you work on? What was the methodology you followed? What was the conclusion that was? You should be able to explain that in under 2 minutes. Go through every project, go through every research accomplishment, or academic accomplishment that you have had, and make sure that you know each and everything about it so that you are prepared before the panel. The last but not the least, check logistic. If you are from abroad coming to India for a PhD interview, then there would be a difference in the time zones. So are you prepared enough that you will reach the interview venue and location at that specific time? Also, if the interview is online, then testing out the Zoom links and all the different kinds of background work that is required for you to show up in terms of electrical connectivity, internet connectivity, is all that ready? That also needs to be set up. The clothes that you are going to wear. We will come to the dressing sense in a while, but keeping all this ready, getting it ironed, getting it washed, and keeping the thing ready really helps in putting you in a frame of mind which is conducive for a PhD interview. It looks like these are all minor things, but actually they are not. When you are really preparing for an interview, to be well prepared is 90% of the better one. What kind of attire you are wearing is really important because your first impression is the last impression. I will speak about the dressing sense for males as well as females, but for both to begin with, I want to tell one thing: avoid white. It gives you a really stark appearance. And if you are really a white lover like me, like in my wardrobe, around 40% of my clothes are white. My first go-to is white. So in that case, I would suggest going in for colors such as cream, beige, any kind of pastel colors. You want to be muted and your excellence, let it show through your answering techniques. Okay. I have some points in front of me regarding dressing sense for males. So as far as your shirt is concerned, you can go for light colored and you can go for solid light blue or some pastel shades. Avoid flashy prints. What tiger ka prints, cheetah ka print, वैसे मत करो. Formal trousers in black, navy or grey will suit you the most. No jeans or chinos, please. हमको वो सब नहीं चाहिए. Footwear needs to be a polished formal shoes. You can go for black or brown. And avoid sneakers or sports shoes. Trimmed beard or clean shave, neat hair, minimal or no perfumes. I personally love wearing perfumes and my day doesn't start without spraying myself with a scent. So if you are someone like that, you can go for aqua notes. Okay, something that has marine or fresh fragrance, you can go for that. Simple wristwatch, no loud accessories, and most important, tucked in short. The overall look needs to be clean and academic. We do not want to look corporate or flashy. Moving on to the dressing sense of females. I have seen a lot of women candidates going with for an interview with sari when they have never worn sari their entire life. So my first suggestion for you is to avoid experimentation. अगर आप हमेशा से सलवार कमीज पहन रहे हो और आपने कभी दुपट्टा लिया ही नहीं, just for the sake of interview you are doing it, it will create more pressure for you than required. So the first thing would be keep the standards aside and make sure that you are firstly comfortable and avoid experimentation. You can go for kurti pajamas, salwar suit, or you can go for sari. As far as western wear is concerned, you can go for a shirt and trousers. You can go for skirt. I've seen some women looking beautiful and corporate in skirts and a tucked in shirt. So this also works well. Go by your instinct, go by what you wear naturally. Footwear should be closed shoes or neat flats. If you are wearing heels, then make sure you have been wearing them throughout. Avoid trying new footwear just for the interview. When I'm attending interviews, for me, my hair matters more than my entire attire. Okay, so you can go in for tied in hair or you can leave it open provided it is well styled. Light makeup, neutral or no nail color. Jewelry needs to be minimal, small studs or simple chain. No jingling bangles. चूड़ी खनकानी नहीं है हमको वहाँ पे. The overall look is composed and respectful, comfortable, not too stylish. Final tip for both. Clothes need to be ironed. अगर आपके घर पे iron नहीं है, go to your neighbor's house, iron it, get it. कम से कम I just cannot imagine Anyone coming to an interview with no ironed clothes, ऐसे सब, let the clothes be simple, but let them be well ironed, and you will find your productivity through that. Now that we have decoded the dressing sense, what you have to wear and what you don't have to wear, let's understand what is the communication style that is required for you to answer a PhD interview successfully. And let's speak about confidence. I have learned from my personal experiences, confidence is overrated. You be nervous, but you be focused. That is how I live, and that is what I wish to share with you. PhD interview is something that will increase the nervousness in you, and it is totally fine. Most important is not to negate that nervousness, but to be assured that you have done the work and you are going to answer well. There is one more school of thought which says fake it till you make it, okay, and especially when it comes to confidence. So meaning that whenever you are at the panel or whenever you are at the interview venue, you act like you are confident even when you are inside feeling nervous and jittery. My personal experience says that if you fake it, you will never make it. If you feel that you are getting overwhelmed, then my suggestion would be, once the question is asked to you, you pause. If you are being interviewed in any interview, including PhD interview, you are the most important person in the room. It is not the panel, it is you. So when the focus is on you, then you act like your focus is on you. The first rule of conversation is not speaking, it is listening. So if you are not able to listen to the panelist and you continuously interrupt, even if your answer is correct, then it does not give a really good impression. Understanding these things really helps in getting ahead in PhD interview. There is a lot of talk about confidence, to behave like this, to behave this way. Go by what your gut says. Okay, go by your true personality. If you are a serious person and you try to laugh or smile during interview, it would go against your nature and you will be embarrassed in the end. School, I knew a person in school, she used to always smile. मतलब उसका default mode ही smiling होता था. कोई उससे गुस्सा करे तब भी वो smile करती है, कोई उससे खुश है तब भी वो smile करती है. If your default mode is that, then you carry that to the interview. If your default mode is serious, you are much more focused, don't want to smile unnecessarily, then you carry that during the interview. Now I want to share with you a technique, okay? If you use that, you will be able to use that for any question. And it is called SAR technique, strategic answering technique. And let's go to the screen and understand what it is. S stands for situation. So what is the background or context to which situation is asked or a question is asked? A stands for action, what you did or you thought during that time, and R is result or reflection. If it's an experiment, it would be a result. If it's a situation, it would be a reflection. What you learned or what was the conclusion. For example, if I ask the question, tell me about your research experience, I will frame it. During my master's, I worked on soil nutrient analysis. This was the situation. I designed experiments and ran lab tests to identify micro level changes. This is what you did. This was the action. And it taught me how small methodological details can change big outcomes. This is the result. In this case, it is a reflection. Once you understand this technique, you can use it for anything. You can use it for any experiment. You can use it for any situation. Just go from situation, action and result. Okay. एक sentence डाल दो एक का and you will be sorted as far as any answer goes. And this technique I have recommended to several and they have really excelled in it. Now that we have understood what kind of style and what kind of things that to be kept in mind for answering a question, let's go to specific questions and let's see how we can answer that. Okay. So the first question is, tell me about yourself. This is the first question that would be asked to any job interview. And your 2-minute elevator pitch that I had mentioned earlier should be ready. It should be rehearsed and you should include all the relevant details in it. Okay, you can start from your bachelor's education to master's and what motivated you and things such as research. Keep it academic and research focused. You can go from undergrad, master's, research experience and current interest or current PhD interview. Avoid personal stories. तुम्हारे childhood में क्या हुआ, ये क्या हुआ, वो क्या हुआ, that needs to be included in statement of purpose, not in your elevator pitch, unless you are questioned about that from your SOP during the interview. End with why you are interested in PhD. You are starting from your bachelor's, coming to your current situation, and you are ending it with one sentence on why you want to do your PhD. The next question can be why PhD or why PhD now. If you are a senior official candidate, that means you have years of work experience, then you have got the chance of doing PhD earlier. So why are you doing it now? That answer should be ready. You can show that whatever is required for a PhD, you have that. You can also be asked about why this particular institute or this particular university or why this particular supervisor. Then if it is asked about supervisor, then you can speak about the work that is going on in that lab or under that particular professor or scientist. If it is institute, then you need to read up about the institute on the website information and give it point by point. 2 to 3 points are sufficient for why this particular topic. If say suppose you are applying for PhD in metabolism, then what is happening around that interests you in that. Okay, and the best way to answer this is to get hold of statistics. What is the data which is available on the internet around this particular disease or this particular question that is working? What are the social implications of it? That is the best way of answering any kind of interview related to why this particular topic. If you have a research proposal ready, then in 2 to 3 minutes, you should be able to summarize it. You are not expected to keep a research proposal ready. Let me tell you that. For PhD admissions, it is not mandatory. It is mandatory for a postdoc. However, if you have a research proposal ready, then you can speak about that in detail. Describe your past research. Now, when it comes to describing your past research, your project that you have done in your bachelor's or master, this is really critical. Okay, and I'm really happy that colleges are pushing for internships and projects during this, because this becomes a really solid preparation technique. Okay, instead of going around for question, you just ask the candidate question related to your past research and you are sorted. What are your long-term goals? You can specify your goals related to teaching or a scientist. When you are speaking about such open-ended, whether you have to go to teaching or scientist, then give a little bit of context. Go little bit in detail. Do not just say you want to become a scientist, just a teacher, ऐसा मत करना. You explain that part. How will you fund your PhD? This question is usually not asked, but if it is asked, you can specify your fellowships. Also, if the institute is going to fund you, then you can show an active interest in writing grants, because grants also get a lot of funding to the lab. So if you are being funded, then you can show that you will do activities that will get funding to that particular lab. So this puts you in a more privileged position than other candidates. If you are asked any questions for us, then please ask at least one question. Okay, कोई भी question related to work timings or related to or different routines in the institute, कुछ भी पूछ लो, पर एक सवाल तो पूछ लो. Do not say that you don't have any question. That will really help in fostering a dialogue between you and the panel. These are the pointers that we need to keep in mind, because a lot of information is floating on the internet about doing this, doing that, this, that. But getting a perspective of the questions that will be asked helps you really stay prepared and calm. Now let's understand some practical aspects related to interview. These are things which may or may not be asked, but you have to be prepared with the answers. Firstly, understand your application material, as I've already said, and especially your CV. Every line of your CV can trigger one question. If you have had any gaps in your career, okay, be prepared to explain that. For example, when I had answered my PhD interview, So after my master's, I worked as assistant professor. Then I prepared for entrances. So there was considerable amount of gap. And then I joined for PhD. So during the interview, one faculty directly asked me, what were you doing during that time? So then I answered that I was preparing for entrances. Then I got teaching experiences, and I cleared those entrances also that I was preparing at that point of time. So your answer needs to be ready. The third thing that I want to say is, do not get triggered by the tone of the panel. Okay, each member in the panel has a different style of asking. Do not personalize it. Like sometimes the question may be asked in a such a way, your focus will shift from the question to the style in which they have asked. Keep the focus on what is asked, not how it is asked. Third thing that I want to say is, be honest about your skill level. For example, if you are taking admission in a place or in a lab where coding is required and you have worked with coding, okay, you have worked on codes, you have worked on developing softwares, then what is your level of proficiency? Becoming a coder and having worked in the area of coding, these are two separate things. You are at a beginner level, you have worked, you understand coding, but you have not worked on it. You have actually developed a software, you understand these codes. Have that self-awareness as to which spectrum or which level you are. The fourth thing that I want to speak about is ethical consideration. If you are working with human volunteers, if you are working with animals or anything living apart from plants, then in such case, ethical consideration is really a concern. But you just have to be aware with a question on, if there are any ethical consideration, what kind of formalities and what kind of permissions that you require. Also for publications regarding plagiarism, what are your thoughts on it and how do you work around it? These are some of the things that you really need to understand before you even start preparing for an interview. The fifth part is, prepare for an explanation on how your research will help benefit society. The best way to defend any research question, in my opinion, is understanding statistics. So let's say if you are working on a software or you want to develop a software, what are the social implications for it? Why is there such a big problem? Why is there such a big deficit? For that, you have to understand what kind of work has already been happened in that particular area. Statistical percentages. What is the percentage of people which are suffering or which are in problem without this particular software? Okay, I'm just giving an example of software, but you get my point, right? Understanding statistical percentages. There is nothing else in the panel, I have seen at least, that impresses them most than giving figures. Moving on to the most common mistakes that PhD candidates do. Answering questions such as, I just love research. No one cares. You specify what is in that particular topic that you like, and this again has to be supported with statistical data. Overly personal or emotional stories should go in statement of purpose, not in your CV or during the interview. If you have worked somewhere else, then never criticize them, okay, in front of your new panel where you will be taking admission. It reflects on you, not on the past institute. So avoid doing that, whatever the temptation may be. Speaking too fast or giving long answers. If you are speaking fast, that means you are nervous. Everyone is nervous during your PhD interview. But as I have mentioned earlier, you are the most important person when it comes to any interview or any viva for that matter. You take a pause and then say what you want to say. Let them ask a question and you say what you know. Okay. Do not mention by yourself that you are lacking in this, the skill levels are low, this, that. खुद के बारे में ही negative मत बताओ. So that's it. These were all the mistakes and these were all the things in the video that I wanted to share with you before your PhD interview. Your dream of doing PhD is just one interview away. Do not forget how far you have come, and my best wishes with you for your PhD interview. I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments as usual and I'll see you there. See you until later. Bye for now.